From the gridiron to the prison yard, these NFL players traded touchdowns for life sentences. When the bright lights fade and the crowds go silent, some of football's finest turned into cold-blooded killers. Today, we're counting down every NFL player who crossed that unthinkable line from hero to murderer. Buckle up, because these stories will make you question everything you thought you knew about your Sunday heroes. Number 10, Jim Dunaway, the undefeated champion's dark secret. Jim Dunaway was living the dream part of Miami's perfect 1972 season, the only undefeated team in NFL history. But in 1998, this defensive tackle's legacy took a sinister turn when his ex-wife Naniel was found dead in a half-empty swimming pool. Here's where it gets twisted. The autopsy revealed she had a fractured skull and was unconscious before being placed in the water. She just won a brutal divorce settlement that gave her 800 acres of property, $1,800 monthly alimony, and half of Dunaway's NFL pension. Talk about motive. Dunaway was charged with murder, but never indicted. The criminal case fell apart. However, his own children later won a wrongful death suit against him. The Buffalo Bills defensive tackle played from 1963 to 1971, part of a defensive line that held opponents without a rushing touchdown for a Pro Football record 17 consecutive games. He ended his career with the Dolphins' legendary undefeated season 17-0 Super Bowl VII champions. What makes this case particularly chilling is the calculated nature of the crime. Someone methodically struck Naniel Dunaway in the head, then placed her unconscious body in water to make it look like an accident. The fact that Jim Dunaway walked free from criminal charges while losing the civil case leaves a bitter taste. From that pinnacle of success to being the prime suspect in his ex-wife's brutal murder shows how far heroes can fall. Number 9, Tommy Kane, from Seahawks star to family annihilator. Tommy Kane caught 142 passes for the Seattle Seahawks, but his most shocking play happened in his mother's kitchen in 2003. The Canadian-born receiver stabbed his estranged wife, Tamara Sheikh, to death in front of his own mother. The details are horrifying. Kane grabbed Tamara by the hair, dragged her into the kitchen, smashed her head against the floor, then repeatedly punched her in the face before stabbing her in the neck. His 75-year-old mother testified she watched her son just hitting punching her as Tamara lay by the refrigerator. What drove him to this? Depression, drugs, and the prospect of divorce. 2 psychiatric reports confirmed Kane was battling severe depression, which helped reduce his charge from murder to manslaughter. He was sentenced to 18 years and ordered to pay $590,000 to his 4 orphan children. The Montreal native was a third-round pick in 1988. His best year came in 1990 when he caught 52 passes for 776 yards. Quebec Superior Court Justice Fraser Martin called Kane narcissistic and manipulative. The tragedy struck on November 30th, 2003, when Tamara arrived with a church counselor to escort Kane to detox. Instead of accepting help, Kane exploded in violence. Kane testified he didn't remember the stabbing, claiming blackout. His mother Shirley tried to intervene but couldn't stop her son's rage. Kane once donated his entire $70,000 CFL salary to youth football camps. His 4 children, aged 3 to 9 at the time, lost both parents that day. Their mother to murder, their father to prison. Hit subscribe, because unlike these guys, it won't ruin your life. Number 8, Ray Lewis, the Super Bowl mystery. Ray Lewis, arguably the greatest linebacker in NFL history. But on January 31st, 2000, after a Super Bowl party in Atlanta, 2 men lay dead in the street. Jason Baker and Richard Lawler, both stabbed through the heart. Lewis and 2 friends were charged with murder. Blood from the victims was found in Lewis's limousine. Witnesses said Lewis was literally dripping with blood. The white suit he wore that night, never found. One witness testified. Lewis said, "I'm not trying to end my career like this." But here's the twist Lewis flipped on his friends, testifying against them in exchange for dropping the murder charges. He pleaded guilty to obstruction of justice and got probation. His friends, both acquitted. To this day, nobody has been convicted for these murders. The fight started over nothing. Someone in Lewis's crew allegedly made a comment, then Baker hit Reginald Oakley with a champagne bottle. What followed was 90 seconds of chaos. Prosecutors painted it as brutal and deliberate murder, with Mayor Bill Campbell declaring, "We will not allow wealth or fame to pervert justice." Lewis's defense team systematically dismantled the state's case. The only witness claiming Lewis threw punches was a convicted con man. Lewis testified for 3 hours but never implicated his friends. The Ravens linebacker was fined $250,000 by the NFL but returned to dominate. He led perhaps the greatest defense in NFL history in 2000, winning Super Bowl MVP. In 2004, Lewis settled civil suits with both families for undisclosed millions. Richard Lawler's mother still believes Lewis knows more than he's ever admitted. Number 7, Cierre Wood, the unthinkable crime. Some crimes are so heinous they defy comprehension. Former NFL running back Cierre Woods falls into that category. In 2019, he murdered his girlfriend's 5-year-old daughter, Laria Davis. The little girl died from blunt force injuries after sustained abuse. Wood, who had brief stints with the Texans, Bills, and Patriots, was supposed to be a protector. Instead, he became a monster. He pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and felony child abuse, receiving life in prison with parole possible after 10 years. His girlfriend, Amy Taylor, also pleaded guilty. Wood played at Notre Dame before the NFL, a program built on tradition and honor. There's no honor in beating a defenseless child to death. The details paint an even darker picture. Wood allegedly forced Rae to participate in extreme exercise routines as punishment for being overweight. She was 5 years old. The coroner found bruising covering her entire body, evidence of sustained, systematic abuse. Wood's football career was unremarkable. Undrafted out of Notre Dame, he managed just 5 carries for 12 yards in 2 NFL seasons. He found more success in the CFL with Montreal, but was released in 2018. Less than a year later, he was a child killer. The case shocked Las Vegas. On April 9, 2019, paramedics found Rae unresponsive. Wood initially claimed she fell, but medical evidence told a different story, one of prolonged abuse that escalated to murder. Wood was sentenced in August 2024 to life with the possibility of parole after 10 years. Some lines should never be crossed, and Wood obliterated every single one. Number 6, Robert Rozier, the cult killer. Robert Rozier's NFL career with the St. Louis Cardinals lasted just 6 games. His murder spree, that lasted much longer. After washing out of the league, Rozier joined Yahweh Ben Yahweh's Temple of Love, but this was no ordinary religious group. To join the cult's inner circle called the Brotherhood, initiates had to murder a white devil and bring back a body part as proof. Rozier didn't kill just one person. He admitted to 7 murders between the 1985 and 1986. In exchange for testifying against the cult leader, Rozier got just 10 years. Released early, he was later caught for check fraud and is now serving 25 to life under California's 3 strikes law. The 6'2", 240-pound defensive end had all the physical tools but couldn't stick in the NFL. After brief stints with the Cardinals and CFL, Rozier drifted to Miami in the mid-1980s. There, he encountered Yahweh Ben Yahweh, a charismatic cult leader who preached black supremacy and demanded absolute loyalty. The Temple of Love appeared benign. From the outside, they ran businesses and fed the homeless. But inside, Yahweh ruled with an iron fist. His secret enforcement squad, the Brotherhood, carried out murders. To prove worthy of membership, initiates had to kill random white people and return with ears or fingers as trophies. Rozier later testified he participated in 7 murders, describing how cult members would cruise Miami looking for victims. They'd attack homeless white men, anyone vulnerable, and alone. One victim was beheaded with a machete. From sacking quarterbacks to collecting body parts, Rozier's transformation from athlete to serial killer remains one of the NFL's darkest chapters. Number 5, Lawrence Phillips. Talent wasted, lives lost. Lawrence Phillips had Hall of Fame talent, the 6th overall pick in 1996, Nebraska legend, 1,453 NFL rushing yards, but his rap sheet was longer than his highlight reel. Phillips' history of violence against women started in college when he dragged his girlfriend downstairs by her hair. The Rams, Dolphins, and 49ers all gave him chances. All regretted it. In 2005, he drove his car into 3 teenagers after a pickup basketball dispute. While serving a 31-year sentence for that and other assaults, Phillips was charged with murdering his cellmate Damian Soward in 2015. Soward was found strangled to death in their shared cell. Facing the death penalty, Phillips died in his cell in January 2016. He left a "do not resuscitate" note on his chest. Phillips' college career at Nebraska was legendary, 1,722 yards and 16 touchdowns as a sophomore. 2 national championships. Tom Osborne reinstated him after the assault, a decision that haunts Nebraska's legacy. In the 1996 Fiesta Bowl, Phillips ran for 165 yards and 3 touchdowns, boosting his draft stock despite the red flags. The warning signs were everywhere. During his rookie season, he was arrested for drunk driving. Dick Vermeil tearfully defended him, calling him potentially the best running back he ever coached. Phillips kept spiraling 634 yards in just 10 games in 1997, then cut after storming out when demoted. His victim in prison, Damian Soward, was serving 82 years to life for murder. Even among killers, Phillips couldn't control his rage. The day before his suicide, a judge ruled there was enough evidence to try him for first-degree murder. At just 40 years old, the man who could have been an NFL great died alone in a cell at Kern Valley State Prison. Number 4, Phillip Adams, the CTE nightmare. On April 7, 2021, former NFL cornerback Phillip Adams walked into a Rock Hill, South Carolina home and opened fire. When the shooting stopped, 6 people were dead. Dr. Robert Leslie, 70, his wife Barbara, 69, their grandchildren Ada, 9, and Noah, 5, plus 2 HVAC workers, James Lewis and Robert Shook. After the shooting, the autopsy of Adams revealed something terrifying. Adams had stage 2 CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, in both frontal lobes, one of the worst cases ever seen in someone his age. The disease, caused by repeated head trauma, triggers violent mood swings, rage, and poor impulse control. Adams played 6 NFL seasons, taking countless hits. Dr. Ann McKee, who examined his brain, said there were inklings he was developing clear behavioral and cognitive issues. Adams' NFL journey began as an undrafted free agent with the 49ers in 2010. Over 6 seasons, he played for 6 teams. That constant movement, the instability, the repeated head trauma, all contributed to his deteriorating mental state. He recorded 128 tackles and 2 interceptions in 78 games, but each hit took its toll. Dr. Robert Leslie was Adams' doctor and had treated him for injuries. The connection turned deadly when Adams forced his way into the Leslie home with multiple weapons. Adams' family later revealed he'd been acting strangely for months, increasing paranoia, isolation, and aggression. His father said football messed him up. The autopsy findings were staggering. Adams' brain showed unusually severe CTE pathology, resembling that of players decades older. 6 innocent lives lost, including 2 children, because of a disease earned on the football field. Number 3, Rae Carruth, orchestrating murder. Rae Carruth had an all-first-round pick, $3.7 million contract with the Panthers. Bright future. But when his pregnant girlfriend, Sherika Adams, refused to get an abortion, Carruth decided to eliminate his problem permanently. On November 16, 1999, Adams was following Carruth's car when he suddenly slowed down. Another vehicle pulled alongside her and opened fire. 8 months pregnant, Adams was shot multiple times but managed to call 911, identifying Carruth's involvement before slipping into a coma. She died a month later, but doctors saved her baby, Chancellor Lee Adams, who was born with cerebral palsy due to oxygen deprivation. Carruth hired hitman Van Brett Watkins because he didn't want to pay child support. Carruth fled to Tennessee, hiding in a car trunk when captured. Convicted of conspiracy to commit murder, he served 19 years. Released in 2018, he had the audacity to ask for custody of Chancellor, the son he tried to kill before birth. The Colorado product was the 27th pick in the 1997 draft, catching 44 passes for 545 yards and 4 touchdowns as a rookie. But Carruth's off-field life was chaotic, multiple girlfriends, children he didn't want to support. When Sherika became pregnant and refused an abortion, Carruth saw her and the baby as financial liabilities to eliminate. The murder plot was almost comically inept. Carruth paid Van Brett Watkins $3,000 to kill Adams. After the shooting, Carruth showed up at the hospital playing the concerned boyfriend. But Sherika had survived long enough to write notes to police identifying Carruth's involvement. During the trial, prosecutors revealed Carruth's callousness. He told people he didn't want to be writing checks for the next 18 years. Chancellor, despite cerebral palsy, graduated high school and lives a full life with his grandmother, Sandra, who responded to Carruth's custody request. He will never be raised by a stranger. Number 2, O.J. Simpson, the trial of the century. O.J. Simpson, 11,236 rushing yards, 61 touchdowns, Hall of Famer. But on June 12, 1994, his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and Ron Goldman were found brutally murdered outside her Brentwood condo. Their throats slashed so violently, Nicole was nearly decapitated. The evidence seemed overwhelming. Simpson's blood at the scene, victim's blood in his Bronco and home, a matching glove, history of domestic violence, no alibi. The infamous slow-speed chase watched by 95 million people. "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit," became the most famous legal phrase in history. Despite the mountain of evidence, Simpson was acquitted in criminal court. But a civil jury found him liable for the deaths, ordering him to pay $33.5 million in damages. He never paid most of it. Simpson later served 9 years for armed robbery in Vegas. Many called it karma. Released in 2017, he lives in Nevada, golfing and posting on social media, while 2 families still mourn. Not guilty in criminal court, but forever guilty in the court of public opinion. The Buffalo Bills drafted Simpson first overall in 1969. He became the first player to rush for 2,000 yards in a season, 1973, won 5 Pro Bowls, and retired as the second leading rusher in NFL history. His charm made him a crossover star, movies, commercials, broadcasting. But behind closed doors, Nicole called 911 multiple times, documenting years of abuse. The crime scene was horrific. Nicole's throat was cut so deeply her larynx was visible. Ron Goldman suffered multiple defensive wounds fighting for his life. The killer left a trail of evidence, bloody footprints, hair fibers, the infamous glove. Simpson had no alibi and a fresh cut on his hand. The trial became a circus. Defense attorney Johnny Cochran turned it into a referendum on police racism. After deliberating just 4 hours, the jury acquitted Simpson. But the civil trial told a different story, finding Simpson liable by preponderance of evidence. The NFL's all-time great got away with murder. Number 1, Aaron Hernandez, from touchdown celebrations to life without parole. Aaron Hernandez had everything $40 million Patriots contract, formed one of the NFL's best tight end duos with Gronkowski, Super Bowl appearance. At 23, he was living the dream. Then came June 17, 2013. Semi-pro football player Odin Lloyd was found shot execution-style in an industrial park near Hernandez's mansion. Lloyd was dating the sister of Hernandez's fiancée. Security footage showed Hernandez holding what appeared to be a gun minutes after the murder. The motive? Never definitively established, though prosecutors suggested Lloyd knew about Hernandez's bisexuality and the NFL star feared being outed. Hernandez was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. But that wasn't all. He was also charged with the 2012 double murder of Daniel De Abreu and Safiro Furtado, allegedly over a spilled drink at a nightclub. He was acquitted of those charges days before taking his own life. On April 19, 2017, Hernandez died in his prison cell. His brain showed severe CTE, the most extreme case researchers had seen in someone his age. He was 27. The Florida Gator was a fourth-round steal in 2010. In 2011, he and Gronkowski became the first tight end duo to each score 5+ touchdowns in consecutive seasons for the same team. The Patriots rewarded him with a $40 million extension, including a $12.5 million signing bonus, the largest ever for a tight end at the time. But darkness lurked beneath. In 2007, while at Florida, Hernandez was questioned in a double shooting. Then came Odin Lloyd, shot 3 times in the back. Prosecutors said Hernandez orchestrated the killing, summoning 2 friends from Connecticut to help. After his suicide, Dr. Ann McKee called the CTE found in his brain the most severe case she'd seen in someone under 46. John 3:16 was written on his forehead in blood. From catching touchdown passes in the Super Bowl to dying alone in a prison cell, Aaron Hernandez's fall remains the most shocking tragedy in NFL history. These stories remind us that athletic greatness doesn't equal moral character. Behind the helmets and highlight reels, darkness can lurk. From OJ's trial of the century to Hernandez's prison suicide, from cult killings to family massacres, these fallen stars traded glory for infamy. Some blamed CTE, others pointed to money and power corrupting absolutely. But victims' families don't care about excuses, they just want their loved ones back. Remember these names not for their touchdowns, but as cautionary tales. Think this video was intense? Hit that subscribe button for more hard-hitting NFL content that pulls no punches. Until next time, stay safe out there.